In our over-communicated society, the paradox is that nothing is more important than communication. With communication going for you, anything is possible. Without it, nothing is possible, no matter how talented and ambitious you may be. What's called luck is usually an outgrowth of successful communication, saying the right things to the right person at the right time, finding what the NASA people in Houston call a window in space. Positioning is an organized system for finding a window in the mind. It is based on the concept that communication can only take place at the right time and under the right circumstances. The easy way to get into a person's mind is to be first. You can demonstrate the validity of this principle by asking yourself a few simple questions. What's the name of the first person to fly solo across the North Atlantic? Charles Lindbergh, right? Now, what's the name of the second person to fly solo across the North Atlantic? Not so easy to answer, is it? What's the name of the first person to walk on the moon? Neil Armstrong, of course. What's the name of the second? What's the name of the highest mountain in the world? Mount Everest in the Himalayas, right? What's the name of the second highest mountain in the world? What's the name of the first person you ever made love with? What's the name of the second? The first person, the first mountain, the first company to occupy the position in the mind is going to be awfully hard to dislodge. In the 20th century, it was Kodak in photography, Hertz in rent-a-cars, continuing on into the 21st century, Kleenex and tissue, Xerox and plain paper copiers, Coca and Cola, and General and electric. The first thing you need to fix in your message indelibly in the mind is not a message at all. It's a mind, an innocent mind, a mind that has not been burnished by someone else's brand. What's true in business is true in nature too. Imprinting is the term animal biologists use to describe the first encounter between a newborn animal and its natural mother. It only takes a few seconds to fix indelibly in the memory of the young animal to identify its parent. You might think all ducks look alike, but even a day-old duckling will always recognize its mother no matter how much you mix up the flock. Well, that's not quite true. If the imprinting process is interrupted by the substitution of a dog or a cat or even a human being, the duckling will treat the substitute as its natural mother, no matter how different the creature looks. Falling in love is a similar phenomenon. While people are more selective than ducks, they're not nearly as selective as you might think. What counts most is receptivity. Two people must meet in a situation in which both are receptive to the idea. Both must have open windows. That is, neither is deeply in love with someone else. Marriage as a human institution depends on the concept of first being better than best, and so does business. If you want to be successful in love or in business, you must appreciate the importance of getting into the mind first. You build brand loyalty in the supermarket the same way you would build mate loyalty in a marriage. You get there first, and then you be careful not to give them a reason to switch. And what if your name is not Charles or Neil or Kleenex or Hertz? What if someone else got into your prospect's mind first? The hard way to get into a person's mind is second. Second is nowhere. What's the largest selling book ever published? Also the first book ever printed with movable type? The Bible, of course. And the second largest selling book ever published? Who knows? New York is the largest cargo port in the United States, but which one is second? Who was the second person to fly solo across the North Atlantic? Amelia Earhart was not the second person to fly over the North Atlantic, although she was the first woman to do it. Now then, who was the second woman? If you didn't get into the mind of your prospect first, personally, politically, or corporately, then you have a positioning problem. In a physical contest, the odds favor the fastest horse, the strongest team, the best player, The race isn't always to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. In advertising, it's best to have the best product in your particular field, but it's even better to be first. Love might be wonderful the second time around, but nobody cares who the second person to fly solo across the North Atlantic was, even if that person was a better pilot. There are positioning strategies to deal with the problem being number 2 or number 3 or even number 203, which I'll go over later. But make sure you can't find something to be first. It's better to be a big fish in a small pond and then increase the size of the pond than to be a small fish in a big pond.